Okay, so we got our neck all sanded and shaped here. You know, pretty much as comfortable as we want it and everything. And we went ahead and we've placed the locking nut on here too. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and install the posts for this Floyd Rose system here for the bridge. So what we're going to do first is we're going to remark out our line, the distance from the nut for our posts, which is 25 inches exactly. Okay, so we've got our Floyd Rose here, and we just installed the top and the bottom string, and these are going to give us a reference as to where we're going to be installing this bridge this way. Okay, so we want to make sure we get this exactly lined up so that we got a good reveal on each of our top and bottom strings here, and it's consistent right the way up the neck. Okay, so we'll just pop this one on here. I'm just going to lock it down in the locking nut. Doesn't have to be tight, just enough to hold the string in place basically. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're just going to position our strings so that, you know, they're sitting even. So we have the same amount of space here and here. Just grab it. Right here we've got about 4 millimeters and about 4 millimeters. So that's pretty good right there. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take our pencil and we're going to mark right in the center. First I'm going to mark the edges, or I'm going to mark the ends of where the radius is cut out here in the bridge. I'm going to mark the two ends of those radius, and I'm just going to try and mark a center line. And what we're going to do, okay, and this side is flat, it doesn't have a radius, so I'm just going to mark it pretty much in the center area here. I'll do once again where the radius starts there and at the end of the bridge. And then, so what I'm going to do is I'll remove this for right now. Now I've got these reference lines I can measure here. So I've got, it looks like it's 11.5 on that radius that I marked. So it looks like our center line is pretty good there. Should be 6 3/4, and that's right about there. Okay, so we need to mark it on our actual line here. So up here, right there, and go 6 3/4, right there. Okay, and then we're going to do the same over here. I'm going to say okay, that there. Looks like we have about 7.5. So we want to go 3 3/4 from this point here. 3 3/4. So right about here. Okay, so now we know that these are where we have to drill for our posts. Okay, so we got the location figured out. So now we're going to go grab one of the posts with the insert that actually is going to go into the body, and we're going to take a couple measurements off that. We need to find out the size of drill bit we're going to use, and we also need to find out what depth we need to get to. We're just going to drill the depth to whatever we measure off of the stud right now. It's going to have to be deepened a little bit later because we are going to be cutting a well into this, so that we'll be able to you know, pull back on the whammy bar and whatnot. So after we cut our well, our stud bushings are going to be sticking up, you know, whatever the depth of the well is. So we'll go ahead and we'll drill these preliminarily. Excuse me, I have a hard time speaking English sometimes. And then after we do that, we will set the bridge in place. We'll lay out for the well that we're going to be routing, and then once we get the well routed, we'll go back and we'll finish the depth of these holes here. Okay, so we got our holes drilled here. And it's just a 3/8 hole, drilled 3/4 of an inch deep. And we've got our bushings and our posts here. So we're just going to remove the bolt portion here, because we don't, whenever we whack these in here, we don't want to be, you know, whacking this, because there's a potential for the threads to bend or whatever and loosen up. So we'll just set that aside. We're just going to take the bushing here, we're going to set it, you know, kind of set it in there a little bit anyways. We're going to take a 3/8 dowel, and we're just going to move the headstock off of here. Just have a nice flat plane to hammer on here. And we're right there. You see we're a little bit shallow here. That's not a big deal right now. So we're just putting in these in here temporarily so that we can lay out. You know, what we'll do is we'll take the bridge with the strings in it, we'll pop it back on these posts, and then we'll pull some tension to the strings, and we'll check out the action and see how much of how deep of a well we need to have in order to get this thing dialed down to some really low action. You know, it's going to be kind of a shredding guitar, so you're going to want that nice close action. Okay, so I'm going to grab the other stud bushing, hammer that in, and then and we'll pop the bridge on there. Okay, so we got these studs in these bushings here. I'm just going to take our bridge. We're going to lower this down all the way. Okay. And we're going to take these strings and lock them back in the locking nut here. Difference is here is now we've got the studs that the bridge is pushing up against. So what we'll do is we'll make this so that we're floating just a little bit high here, and then we'll lock it into position. And the reason we're going to do that is because I want to be able to pull the bridge back a bit to the level position and see what the action is going to sit like, just at the back end of the neck, because we haven't adjusted the nut yet. So we're just gonna, you know, kind of go by eye here and then see how much of a well, how deep of a well would be best suited for this, the way everything's sitting. Okay, so we're just going to pull this tight here, get a little bit of a forward. There we go. And we're going to lock that down. And then we're going to take the other string here, and we're just going to pull it tight and lock it down. Okay. So now you'll see, if I pull this down to get it flush, we're substantially high here. You see we have, oh geez, what have we got here? We're looking like we got about 7/30 seconds. Okay, so we need about 1/16 of an inch above the fret wire. The fret wire is about, I would say, 2 millimeters high. Or sorry, 1/16 of an inch high. So, you know, add those together. We need about 1/8 off of the fretboard here, and we've got. So it looks like our well's going to have to be at least 3/32 of an inch deep. So that's not too bad. I mean, that'll pretty much take us to. You know, having the bridge pretty much this area of the bridge sitting flush with the body. It'll be up just a little bit, about 1/32 of an inch, but I mean, besides that, that's pretty much tells us what our depth has to be, minimum, right? So we know that that's, you know, going to be this area here, and this part of the well here we can make deeper for doing the back whammy and stuff. But now that we got this all set up, I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to make some marks here. Okay, so I'm I'm going to mark about a 1/16 of an inch outside of the body here on each side, or outside of the bridge on each side. Okay. Get a cool sound. Would have been neat through an amp. Okay. Let's do 2 reference lines just to keep this fairly square. Do one off of the back of this one too. Okay. We're going to take another one off of the back of here, 1/16 of an inch. Now the reason I'm doing this is I'm going to be taking some measurements off of here because I need to do up a template. I don't have a 7-string Floyd Rose template for doing a well here. I do have a 6, and I maybe just be able to, you know, route one side, move it over and route the other. But the problem is if we are indeed going to be doing a deeper section back here, then it'll require us moving that you know, that template around quite a bit. We're going to have to move it once and then twice just to get the initial shape, and then we're going to have to, you know, do the depth in this back pocket, then move it back to the first position again and do the rest of the depth for the back of the well there. So, you know, I might end up doing that. We'll have to see when we get to that point. But right now I just want to lay out these measurements here and make sure. Okay, so about a 1/16 off of there. We're going to go there. And off of here. Okay, looking good. So now, we can take this bridge off of here. Looks like we're going to have to loosen this nut off here. But it looks like the bridge is lining up nicely laterally anyways, so that's good. Perfect. Okay, take that off of there. Take this bridge off and set it aside now, and then we're going to go ahead and pull these studs out. Okay, so as you can see, we've got the basic shape of our well marked out here, and you can see that I've went ahead and I've marked 3/32 outside of these lines as well. And the reason why we did that is because what we're going to be using for to do this, because the well is going to be so shallow, it's only going to be about maybe just a little bit over 1/8 of an inch deep. We're going to be using a guide bearing again, and just the top little portion of a bit here. So what we needed to do is we needed to measure from the edge of the bit, here, right to the outside of the guide bearing, because you know, when you're using a template with a guide bearing like this, the template has to be bigger than the actual recess that you're routing, and the distance between the edge of the bit and then the outside edge of the bearing we measured to be 3/32. So that's why we have this 3/32 line on the outside here. So what we're going to do is we're going to use a multiple part template here. And the reason, and what that means is, so I'm going to have a piece that I'm going to set here, and then I'm going to have these pieces that are going to sit here, and then these pieces are going to sit in here, and then of course this piece right here. And the reason why I'm doing this is because this recess that I'm going to be, this well that I'm going to be routing in here, it's going to be different depths at different points. So what I want to do is I want to do whatever I'm going to do at the shallowest depth, and then what I'm going to do is anything that needs to be deeper than that, I'm going to move this and set it up to a different position, and then the rest of this here we can go ahead and route it to the deeper dimension, and that way we know that we won't be touching this. We got to keep this ledge at a certain height, so that, because this ledge here has the posts on it, and it's going to determine the height of our actual bridge. The rest of it is just going to be routed out for you know, pulling back on the whammy bar and stuff. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and we'll install this one piece here, this first one. And the idea is, if you're going to be using a template like this that comes in multiple pieces, you want to make sure that you put a lot of 2-stick tape on it, or however you're going to fasten it. The idea is you want to make sure that it's fastened very well, every single piece. Too much is better than not enough here, because you know, you're dealing with 6 pieces here as opposed to 1 piece. So, you know, with all of these, you know, they're all going to be pushed up against each other, so they're going to be pretty stable and sturdy. But because there's so many different pieces, there is more of a potential for something to move. So you want to make sure that these are stuck down really well. You know, I can't stress that enough. So you can see I've put as much tape as I possibly can on all these pieces. This one here, I didn't put this part on because it's just going to be overhanging the body, and it's not going to be, you know, it's not going to be attaching to anything anyways. So we got that first one stuck down here, and just peel this tape up. And so we need to make sure when we're lining these up that we go right to the edge and right to the corner. Okay, we're looking pretty good there. And push that down, make sure it's fastened really well. Looks like we're a little bit proud right there. Okay, that's pretty good there. We'll do the same for this one. And another reason why I made this in a bunch of parts is because I can use this for a 6-string setup as well. I would just have to make these 2 end pieces a little bit narrower, but I could use all these other pieces for a 6-string model. So that's the other good thing about it. You know, it's kind of like a little kit that you can make up, and you can do route all of your Floyd Rose wells with it just by placing them in different locations. Okay, that's good there. Get it nice and stuck down. Looks like everything's good and sturdy. It's not going to move around. Now when we get to here, you can see we're going to be sticking over here a little bit. So what we'll do is we'll peel the tape off, and if we find that it's not, you know, it doesn't have enough surface here that it's attaching to, that it's not going to move around, we'll just stick like a wedge in here, stick it to the 2-sided tape on the bottom here, and then stick a piece of 2-sided tape to the body here as well. We just want to make sure, the main thing is we want to make sure that none of this stuff moves around while we're routing, because if that happens, we're at a point where that would just be absolutely catastrophic right now. We do not, you know, we're getting close to done here. We don't want to we don't want to be making a mistake right on the face of the guitar right now. It's something we want to try to avoid. So get this lined up here, and that's looking good right about there. And push that down nice and firm. I think that'll be fine. It doesn't look like that's going to go anywhere. Okay, we're looking pretty good there. So this is basically what we're looking at. And another good thing about this is you can make sure that you can square up all these pieces to one another. It's really difficult to make you know, a template for a Floyd Rose route like this, just because trying to get everything completely square, all the edges completely square and straight with one another, it's a real pain in the back. I mean, it takes a long time, a lot of filing and sanding to get it just right, cleaning out the corners and whatnot. This way, you just cut these 5 pieces, make sure they're all square, and everything will go together square. And like I said, if you tape it well enough, nothing moves, and it works just the same as having one full template. You know, and you know that all the pieces are going to be, you know, you can line everything up to make sure that it's completely square with itself, with one another anyways, all the lines. Okay, so now that that's all set up, we're ready to set the depth on our bit. I got a scrap piece of our material that we used for the template itself. We're going to set that on top, and we're going to measure off of it. So what we'll do is we'll turn the bit so that, you know, the point is near where we're going to be measuring from. And it looks like right here we've got our 3/32. Now, generally that's what we calculated to have for the depth here in order to get us to the perfect depth to have you know, the way we want it set up, and that'll be about 1/16 of an inch off the top of the fret. So what we want to do is we want to bring that down a little bit more even. And we want to do that because we want to make sure that in the lowest position that this thing just barely bottoms out, because we don't want to be able to, you know, run into a problem where the action's a little bit high and we want to bring it down just a tad more, and we can't because we're already at the very bottom. So we're going to go a little bit deeper than we actually need to be, just to give us that little bit of play and a little bit of clearance. You know, you can always raise the bridge up to take away, you know, buzz or whatever, but you can't lower it back down, like once it's in the lowest position. And if you want to get better action, you're pretty much screwed. So you got to make sure that you compensate for that. So we're actually going to take it down just a little bit over 1/8 of an inch. So we're going to add 1/16 to it. So we'll say 5/32. It's at 3/32 now, so we'll set it to 5/32. That's perfect right there. Okay, so we'll go ahead and do that, and then what we'll do is we'll set up our depth to do the back side of the channel, or back side of the recess here. Okay, so we got our first pass done here at our 5/32 of an inch, and it's looking pretty good. Nice and straight around the edges and everything. So now what we need to do is we need to go at this with a second pass and bring it down a little bit deeper, but we want to leave this area here alone where the posts are going to be installed. So we're just going to take this area of the template and peel it up. Hopefully, yeah, okay. Looking good. And we just want to move this right into this area here, and we want to make it pretty much flush with the through hole here, and then we want to fasten it down good and tight. We want to make sure that this doesn't move at all. Okay, now we want to set the depth on our router here. So I believe we want this at about 1/4 inch, and yeah, we're at 1/4 inch. So now we're going to go ahead and route out the second part of this, and what this is going to do is it's going to remove the remaining piece of the top we have here, and our laminated neck blank is going to show through the cavity, so that should look pretty neat. We're going to go ahead, do the second pass on the routing. One thing you want to make sure before you start the second pass too is make sure that everything is still nice and secure and it's not moving around. And we're looking good. So we're going to go ahead and do the second pass. Okay, so we got our second pass done. You can see our lamination through here and stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and pop these pieces off. And like I said, they'll be a little bit tough to get off if you made sure to use a lot of tape, get it stuck down well. So just take our time, pry up on these. There you have it. That's our well for our tremolo. And we'll go ahead and we'll sand up the edges around here, clean up any sanding marks in there, and we'll be good to go.